When you receive encounters, two things happen. I'm about to round up. When you receive encounters, many things happen, but I pick out two for you. Number one, eternal relevance is conferred only to those who encounter God. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what men call you. Just have an encounter. Your story can change overnight. In the time of the emergence of the Christ, three people had prominent encounters. The first was a priest. The second was a widow. The third was a child. Three of them became relevant. It didn't matter their status in society. Anna was a widow, a prophetess of God. The Bible says she lost her husband at a tender age, but she had an encounter. And because of that encounter she had, the reproach of widowhood rolled away from her. The woman gained so much stature in the spirit that she was categorized among prophets. And then John the Baptist was a little boy, but suddenly, because of encounter, he became older than the ancients. He said, the one that appeared to me, the one that sent me, he said, the same said unto me, upon whom you see the Spirit of God descend as a dove, he is the Messiah. And the things John was uttering, there was nobody in his generation that was uttering it. In fact, when Jesus showed up, he said, of all men born of a woman, he said, there is none greater than John. Of all men born of a woman. So in the dispensation before Christ, John, even though a young man, became the most relevant. Do you know how many Sanhedrin, how many elders, how many scholars, how many theologians were in that generation? All it took John to become relevant was an encounter. And John becomes so relevant that Jesus himself will need John to validate his calling. Because the reason Jesus went to John was not just because he was a prophet. Because at one point they came to him and said, what sign do you show us that you are called of God, that you are the Messiah? And he asked them a question, is John a prophet? If you claim John is a prophet, then John is the one that validated me. How can a man become so relevant that he validates God to a generation? It's an encounter. Because there are certain men that if they said, this is the word of the Lord, you have no choice but to obey it. If you doubt it, you will see it. Elijah showed up. There was economic famine. The nation was crumbling and women were eating their children. Elisha stood up and said, by this time tomorrow, he said, a cup of barley will be sold for 1 shekel. The prime minister looked at him and said, even if they open the window of heaven, it will not happen. He said, they don't need to open the window of heaven. I am the window of heaven. I have gone there. I am the window of heaven. And he told him, I respect you. You are the prime minister. I know you are in government. I know you sit next to the king. But hear this, you will see it, but you will not enjoy it. And a prime minister of a nation was shut down. Do you know how many economic intelligence is needed to change the economy of a nation? Ask your government now what they are going to raise the value of the cities. And then a man of encounter shows up and says, don't worry, by this time tomorrow, 1 cedi shall become $5. And then you look at him, you say, how is that possible? Are you going to revamp the Bank of Ghana? I don't need the Bank of Ghana. I am speaking as I'm commanded. Because when a man has an encounter, he can tell dry bones, arise. And dry bones can be turned to an army. Nothing, hear this, nothing confers relevance like encounter. That's why every man must press for encounters. How can a prophet, without economic scholars, without economic structure, without economic plan, and it's not like he was praying, a messenger just came to him and said, the king is in need of you. He said, go and tell the king. My God, what power is that? Go and tell the king. That means through encounter, a man can become more relevant than the king, because the true king is not the one on the physical throne. The true king is the one on the spiritual throne. And so you don't need a name, you don't need a title. Receive an encounter. When you tell the government of your nation, hear the word of the Lord, in 7 days the dollar will move from 16 cities to 5 cities, and it happens, the president will look for your house. That is what Christianity is about. It said the government of this world shall be upon his shoulder. We carry the nations on our shoulders, but what gives us the power to do so are the kind of encounters that we have. Did you not read in the day of Daniel? The king went to take the holy chalice. He went to defy the tabernacle of God. He had no fear. It doesn't matter how many priests there are. It matters if one man has encounter. And when they carried the chalice, the Bible says suddenly a hand appeared and wrote on the wall. And they brought all the wise men of Babylon. Nobody could answer. The king was jittery, and the queen came to him and said, there's a man in thy kingdom in whom is the secret of the Holy Ghost. This is not a preacher. This is not a theologian. This is not a student of Bible school. There is a man in thy kingdom. That time time has come when they will know us as that man in the kingdom. He said, light and understanding is in this man. Excellent spirit is upon him, and he has the power to explain hard sentences. And the king, in his helpless and vulnerable state, began to look for those who have encounters. You know, once upon a time, when the king has a dream, Daniel will need to go and pray. But the point came, he grew in this corridor. So he doesn't need prayer anymore. If you call him at any time, he shows up. And when he came to the king, he looked at him and said, "Oh king," he said, "God honored you by giving you the throne of your father." He said, "But you have defied the living God by worshiping the God of stone, the God of iron, and the God of sand." He said, "Therefore is this hand come." Mene, mene. The first thing is that, how did he understand that language? Because until he came, nobody could read it. Because that's not the language of men. That's the language of angels. The man was living in another ecosystem. He dwelt in another reality. Mene, mene. He said, "Take care, oversee." After reading it, they were still ignorant. Because there is a knowledge you cannot have, even if you go to Harvard. There's a knowledge that is in the scrolls of eternity. The power to rule a nation is not with Harvard, it's with Zion. He said, "Behold, you have been weighed on the balances." That was the first time we knew that there is a scale in the spirit where they weigh men. Because your weight on earth may be 80 kg. In the spirit, your weight may be 1 kg. And so actual weight is not measured in time. It's measured by your accuracy in the spirit. He said, "You have been weighed in the balances, and you have been found wanting." He said, "Therefore, tonight." I love the way this man changed things in 24 hours. One said the whole economy will change in 24 hours. Another one said tonight, the strongest government in the world, he said, "You will be overthrown." And as if it was a joke, that night, the king fell. Because one man came from another realm. One man came from another height. How can demons torment your family? How can your nation be in darkness? The problem is not with the government. We are the men of encounters. Where is that man that can call the Minister of Defense and tell him by 2 p.m. on Thursday there will be an attack in the National Assembly? Do this, do this, do this. The army, we have no inclination, but there's somebody who guards over the city in the spirit. Did you not read when Paul was entering Damascus? Jesus appeared to him and said, "You can't enter the city. There's a gatekeeper called Ananias. Until he permits you, you can't enter." And so the defense system of a nation is not the army, it's the prophets. In my country today, they discovered some explosive, and the whole honor was shifted to the American soldier. And the first thing I ask myself is, are Americans now the hope of Nigeria? Because when you don't have spiritual technocrats, you will depend on outsiders who exploit you for your deliverance, and they are not here to help you. They are there to show you how useless you are. But when prophets rise, the dignity of a nation is restored. Many. Death will not leave that family until a man of encounter arises. The nation will be in darkness until a man of encounter arises. And this is why we contend for encounter, because true relevance is in the spirit. You think by quoting scriptures you can take over a nation? No, there are spirits who sit there as gatekeepers, and when you show up, they want to find out, where are you speaking from? And when you come, you will say, "I do not come with bow and arrow, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, whose army you have defied, and Goliath will fall." Most of you are still seeing your disadvantage. Come up hither. There's a mantle on your life. There's a garment on your life. The great men were not advantageous in the flesh. They found themselves in the spirit. Because on the ear of David is the armor of many warriors. There are many armors in the spirit, but who can ascend the mountains of God? There's an encounter waiting for you, but you have not built up in the spirit. How can 30 million people be confused? It's not possible. No matter how bad it is, at least 10 people should see light and be able to tell the nation, this is the way to go. And when they speak, their words become law, because these ones, they are relevant, not just among men, but among spirits. The Bible spoke concerning Moses and Elijah after they died. In fact, Elijah didn't die, and even Moses could not die. God had to kill him, because there's a place you'll get to that death will be swallowed up in victory. And so Moses was 120 years old. His eyes were not abated. He was as strong as a young man. God had to show up and take Moses to a hiding place to kill him, because the man had mingled with immortality too much for him to be able to die. So God himself had to kill him. He said, "Go to the mountain Abarim, in the mountains of Nebo, there die." Because if you are waiting for age and sickness, you will never die. And so I have to create a method of killing you. You have walked in light too much to die. God had to kill him. And when it came for Elijah, Elijah knew the ways, the navigatory part of the spirit so much that he knew that he couldn't die. And he also knew the day he will live. And he did not just know the day, he knew the spot where he will live. And so he was manipulating Elijah. He entered the city. He said, wait for me here. He said, as surely as the Lord liveth, I will not leave you today. And suddenly, the same thing God did for 4 million people by parting the river. One man came casually, not because he was escaping from Egypt. He struck the water with his mantle. The water parted. You know what that means? In the eyes of God, one man can be superior to 4 million. And when the water parted, Elijah came to the spot. He knew. He said, what do you want? What a way to live. What do you mean? What do you want? Because like Paul, he knew his assignment was over. Paul said, I've run my race. I've finished my course. I checked the blueprint. There's nothing written anymore. I've come to the last full stop. I read my own biography in the spirit. This is the end. He said, there remained for me a crown of life. He didn't just know the end. He knew the reward. While you are hoping that God will give you a reward, another person is defining his own reward. In Zion, I'm a king. I have a crown of life. And Elijah came there. And he said, what do you want? He said, I want a double portion. I said, you have asked for a hard thing. But if you see me when I'm taking where? What do you mean taking? Taking to where? By what? But that's a man who dwells in another civilization talking. And while he was yet speaking, the Bible said the chariot of fire ran in between them and the whirlwind carried him. He knew where he would be carried from. Those are men of encounter. And the point I'm making is they were so relevant that even after death and after they were carried from earth, God had to prophesy that Elijah will come again. The world will still need him. So there are men who don't live one lifetime. There are men who live many lifetimes. Because if they don't come back, there will be a gap in the earth. And so Elijah will have to come again. And so when Jesus was on the Mount of Transfiguration, the Bible said Elijah and Moses stood with him. And they were telling Jesus what he will do in Jerusalem. So men will tell God what he should do. Jesus came. The Bible said John went in the spirit of Elijah. It will take Elijah to open the door for God to come to earth. And even when God came to earth, it will take Elijah to tell him what he will do in Jerusalem. And it's not yet finished. He said 2 witnesses will come again. Because there is the everlasting gospel that will be preached at the end of time. That means only Elijah came to the world 4 times. He came as the first Elijah. He came in John the Baptist. He came on the Mount of Transfiguration. And they will still come as the 2 witnesses. What kind of relevance is that? A man, the Bible said, it is appointed unto man to die once. Then there will be judgment. Who is Elijah? Because Elijah did not die. And he didn't come to the earth once. At least we know that Elijah came 4 times. He walked on earth as Elijah. He came as John. He came on Transfiguration. And he will come as the 2 witnesses. Is Elijah not a man? I thought men die once, then judgment. Who is Elijah? It's a man of encounters. Because when Elijah, eternal relevance is conferred on those who have encounters. That means when you are not pressing for encounters, your life will be shallow. Our world is mundane. Find out how we brag. I have a PhD from Harvard. And so what? What does Harvard PhD give you? A better job opportunity. That's the best he gives to you. Is it not men that taught you? There are those who are taught by the elders of heaven. John said, I heard a voice in Revelation 4:1. Come up, Peter. When he came up, he said, I saw a book open. And he said, one of the elders said unto me, weep not. While you are bragging with godless lecturers from Harvard, some men are taught by elders in Zion. We don't know what to brag with. I have a doctorate degree. I've lived in the United Kingdom. I've lived in Tulsa. That's somebody's village. But we brag with mundane things. You landed Dubai. All you thought of were selfies. So that men will know that you have gone to Dubai. What a wasted life. Meanwhile, there's a man called William Maron Branham. On one occasion, he stood and heaven appeared on his head as a testament that this is a servant of God. I heard that in the Azusa Street revival, sometimes while they are praying, fire will descend on the building and people will see it literally. Why men are inviting Zion to earth? You are bragging that you went to Dubai because we are mundane. Where is the hunger for eternity? Paul said if we are risen with Christ, then our affection must be on the things that are above. And so my value does not increase because I entered the borders of the United Kingdom. The Bible spoke about 70 men that Jesus sent out. He said demons were subject to them and they celebrated and they said rejoice not. He said for today your name has been written in the book of life. You have become citizens of Zion. Alia, 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 Bebebalina Marakata, Betekalila, Payenda Sariga, Marakata Sena, Mantekiva, Revanakila, Marakata. Hear this. The Bible said, once upon a time, Israel went for war. And it said, Joshua discovered that so long as the sun remained, Israel won. And he has never read it in the book. He has never heard anybody do it before. But he has gone to where earth is regulated from. And suddenly the Bible said, in the eyes of everyone, Joshua said, let the sun remain, make it to go down. God hearkened to the voice of a man. I was told the reason we have a leap year is because Joshua interfered with the oscillatory system of the sun. And so every year you find a leap year is a testimony that a man called Joshua existed. So why men walk on earth? They become immortals. I read about a man called Noah. He said Noah erected an altar to the Lord, and he sacrificed upon it clean beast. Spoke in his own heart and said, so long as I live, I will no longer destroy the earth by flood. And he said, as a sign, God allowed a rainbow on the face of the earth. And so every time you see the rainbow, it's a sign that a man called Noah walked on the earth. So men, through encounters, left their signature on earth. Whereas we are young ministers, what we are pursuing is on the radio. What we are pursuing is popularity. Does Noah need publicity? Every time you read the rainbow, you will remember that there's a man called Noah. Every time there is a leap year, you will remember there's a man called Joshua. That is immortality. That there's a place a man can get to in the realm of God, that he will leave a signature on the earth that can never be erased. So long as the earth remains, those men have become immortals. And so relevance is not about the size of your church. Relevance is not about those who sing your name. Who are you in the spirit? Are you popular? In 1 Samuel chapter 7 verse 12, it said the army of the Midianites were oppressing Israel. And he said Samuel took a stone. How did he know? Who teach these men? Who are their teachers? How do they know these things? He said he set up the stone and poured oil on it and called a stone Ebenezer. A man baptized the stone, called the stone a name. And the Bible said from that day, it said the hand of God, the land that the Philistines took, Israel reclaimed it. He said number 2, God was against them all the days of Samuel's life. And number 3, the Philistines no longer came against Israel. One man became an army. How did he know? That means the things that constitute our advantage, they are not earthly. All our pursuit in the flesh is a distraction to our destiny. Men who have understanding, they contend for encounters. We give ourselves bogus titles: prophet, apostle, governor, evangelist, pastor, elder, teacher. But we cannot move things in the heavens. And every day we keep quoting men that have gone to rest. Whereas the challenges of our generation is awakening us to responsibility. I speak over somebody. The hunger and the passion required to ministry is not about an early discipline. Imagine the way widows were known. He said widows received their dead back to life. Women were powerful in the realm of God, that they received their dead back to life. And it became normal that they generalized it. In our world today, you can count those who raised the dead. But this is a generation where it was a normal thing among women to raise the dead. What did they know? What was the hunger in their spirit? What defined their pursuit? We have stories. And so you didn't come here for a message. You came here provoked for an encounter. In the next 2 minutes, the fire of God will fall here. And so I want to give you the opportunity to pray in tongues as desperate as you can ever pray for the next 1 minute. Oh, the Lord, your desperation. Don't plan to be remembered as a prophet. Don't plan to be remembered as a governor. They don't remember men like that. Is it time we fail me to speak of Gideon, to speak of Barak, to speak of Jephthah?